A high school student contacted me this week and told me that he was doing an assignment for a class and he needed my help. He wanted to know the three main differences between Christianity and Judaism from a religious Jewish perspective. So I decided to make it into a video for anyone who's new to theology or just needs to brush up on the basics. So again, this video is on the three differences and similarities between Christianity and Judaism from a Jewish perspective. Before I begin to list them, I want to first give you a little history of these two great world religions. How? Well, it's no secret that Christianity came out of Judaism. So before anything, we have to understand that without Judaism, there could not have been Christianity. I'm sure you've heard it. Abraham is the father of both religions. Well, in the Hebrew Bible, what Jews call the Tanakh and what Christians call the Old Testament, God first chose or appointed Abraham to be his mouthpiece to the world. That means that it was Abraham's task to repair the world through the idea of ethical monotheism, the belief in one God. And he equipped them, Abraham's descendants, the Jews, for this task by giving them his commandments on Mount Sinai, so that through them, his commandments, humanity could have a godly standard to aspire to. Now, God also equipped the descendants of Abraham with the land of Israel because at the time it was the center of the world. Why? Because at that time almost all trade had to cross through it. Why is this important? Well, because the Jews were appointed to be a light into the nations, the best way to interact with other nationalities at the time was to have them travel through your land, hear the message of God, change their behavior, and ultimately elevate this world to what we call the Messianic age, the age of peace, which will be ruled by the King of Israel, who we Jews know as the Messiah. Now, the word Messiah really means to anoint in Hebrew. Why? Because in Israel, all kings and priests were anointed for service, similar to a king being coronated. So the Messiah earns that title because he will also be a king in the line of Jewish kings. Now, this is where we get the word Christ. Now listen very carefully because this is very important. The word Christ is the Hebrew word Messiah in Greek. All this time you probably thought Christ was Jesus' last name, right? Well, nope. So really Jesus Christ or Jesus the Christ in its original form would be Jesus the Messiah. That's why Jesus was called the King of the Jews. King of the Messianic age that Jews would have supposedly instituted by repairing this world through God's instructions. So, to make a long story short, the vast majority of Jews of Jesus' time did not recognize Jesus as the Messiah. And the ones that did ultimately ended up breaking away from Judaism and starting their own religion, what we know today as Christianity. Also, some so-called Jewish Christians have begun calling themselves Messianic Jews instead of Christian Jews. Because remember, the word Christ means Messiah in Greek. So then the word Christian, literally Christ-like, would be Messianic in the Hebrew form. But don't let them fool you. There's no such thing as a Jewish Christian. Why? Because right when a Jew drops Judaism, he's no longer Jewish. To go even further, there's actually no such thing as a secular Jew. Because if a Jew adopts secularism, in other words, making himself into God, he's not any worse than if a Jew was worshiping idols. For more information on this, you can watch my video called Why Are Most Jews Not Religious? Now, finally, here are the differences and similarities of both religions. Three of each. First, similarities. 1. They both hold the Bible as divine and as the source of their values. The first half, the Christians call the Old Testament, and we call the Tanakh. 2. They both believe in the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. 3. They both believe in the idea of a Messiah or Christ. So those are the three similarities. The three differences, well, 1, Christians don't believe it's obligatory to keep the biblical commandments of the Bible, the 613 commandments. Now, many Christians believe that there are only 10 commandments in the Torah, but it's not so. Actually, what Christians call the 10 commandments is in Hebrew literally translated as the 10 sayings or 10 statements. because all Jews have always known that there are 613 commandments and not only 10. Christians believe that through the death and supposed resurrection of Jesus, humanity is now under a covenant of grace and not under commandments. So, now, number 2 is Christians believe that Jesus is their Christ or Messiah, which religious Jews do not. 3, Christians believe that Jesus, apart from just being the Messiah, is God himself, which Jews do not. Judaism teaches that the Messiah will be a regular person like you or I, who will also die like you or I. And after he dies, his son will gain the throne, which was the practice of Jewish kings in the past. So if you're interested in learning more about Judaism, visit bejewish.org. There you will find books, videos that will help you on your journey. Thank you.